She's a creative entrepreneur and influencer marketing expert, best known as the visionary behind the Black-owned hair brand Natural Hair Rocks. I warmly welcome Ellena Affah. Please, let's use our emojis to welcome Ellena. Welcome, Ellena. How are you doing this evening?
Hi everyone. Good evening. I'm very well, thank you. And you?
We are great and we can't wait to hear all that you have to say. And the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. So, quick one, can they unmute their speakers or they would communicate via emojis? Let me know.
So
So it
they'll be
doesn't feel like I'm talking
communicating.
alone.
They'll be communicating via the emojis and they'll also be using the Q&A chat box. But if anyone has anything to say, they can just put up their hands and would open the mic.
Okay, fair enough. Hi everyone. Good evening. My name is Ellena Affah. I am a beauty founder. I'm also an influencer marketing strategist. I have been working in the influencer marketing space for a long time now, and I'm happy to be here. I'm going to be sharing what I believe would work for you. And yes, so before I continue, quick one, type your name, Taiwo, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Did you say that they can type in the, is it like a comment section or something?
Yes, so we have a Q&A chat box so they can type in that.
Okay, awesome. All right. So I just want to know if any one of you has ever worked with influencers before or what your experience is like. So if you know that you have worked with an influencer building your fashion business, just type in the question box so that I have an idea of what your experience is like. So whilst I wait for that, I'm just going to go on ahead and dive in. Before I go on, what is an influencer? Um, an influencer is, I like to define an influencer as anyone who has a community that listens and trusts their verdicts, right? So that's basically what an influencer is. Anyone that has a community that listens and trusts their verdicts. So before you proceed and decide that you want to deploy the an influencer or any influencer, it's very important that you identify what your KPIs are, as they will guide you on how to go about your campaign. And your KPIs are basically your key performance indicators. What is the reason why you want to work with an influencer? Are you looking at working with influencers because you want to build visibility and awareness? Are you looking at working with influencers because you're trying to expand into a new market? You're maybe an already existing fashion business and your most of your customers are in Lagos, Nigeria, and you're looking at diversifying your target market. You're looking at, tapping into maybe the South African market or the Ghana market. So that's one of the reasons why brands work with influencers when they want to expand into a new market. So it could be brand affinity. Are you trying to drive the right conversations about your brand? You want more people to fall in love with your brand. You know that you're building something amazing, but you want to get the word out there to make more people have the right conversations about your brand and just love your brand. Are you looking at partnering with influencers for content creation? You're looking at leveraging the content that these influencers create. You can leverage on this content for your own personal marketing or to repurpose on your newsletters, to repurpose on your social media page. That's another reason why brands work with influencers. Or are you looking, you're just starting and you're looking at creating a pre-launch buzz? So there are just different reasons why brands work with influencers and different KPIs basically. So it's very important that you go back into your drawing table and find the reason why you want to work with an influencer or work with influencers, because it's going to guide you on how to run your campaign. If you do not know the reason why, you realize that you end up picking just anybody. And then when you spend money, time working with these people, you realize that it's the campaign is a flop. So it's important that you understand the key performance indicators. Now, once you have a clear idea of what exactly you want to gain from the collaboration or from your campaign. If you're deploying more than one influencer, the next step is to find the right influencers. And this is where a lot of brands, especially in fashion, get it wrong. And I'm going to break this down for you. Before you even say you want to deploy an influencer, you need to understand your brand. What type of brand are you building? What do you want people to say about your brand? How do you want people to feel when they interact with your products? What perception are you trying to create? It's important that you identify these things, because when you know the type of brand that you're building, or you know the kind of brand that you have, you know the kind of conversations you want people to have with regards to your brand, when you identify these things, it would help you in selecting the right influencers. Now, I know that fashion is kind of is broad, and then we have like different fashion influencers, right? If you don't understand anything about your brand, you end up working with an influencer who is also in the fashion space, but is not in relation with your brand. So these questions matters, because the influencers that you're going to work with must align with your brand and their audience. Remember when we defined when I gave you the definition of influencers, I said influencer is anybody that has a community that listens to them and trusts them. Now, here's another mistake brands make. Sometimes they feel like an influencer aligns with them. That's just the influencer alone. They don't look at the influencer's audience, because there's scenarios like that where an influencer sort of like aligns with the brand, but the audience that the influencer has does not align with the brand too as well. So it's important that you look at this. You're not just looking at the influencer, you're also looking at their community. Do their community align with my brand, or do the community align with the brand that I'm trying to build? Do their community trust this influencer? These are very, very important things that you need to look at out for, because like I said, not all fashion influencers are the same. Some fashion influencers lean into alternative style. Some their niche is in modest dressing. Some focus on sustainable fashion. Some are positioned as luxury, right? When you go to their page, when you go to their feed, when you see the brands that they wear, is mostly luxury. So if you know that you're not in the luxury space, you may not want to. Okay, let me reiterate. If you know that you're not necessarily in the luxury space, or maybe you're building like a fast fashion brand, you know that if working with a luxury influencer, there is no alignment. If you know that you create clothes that are not in any way in alternative, you know that you should not be working with a fashion influencer that only dresses in an alternative style. So these are things that you need to look out for, right? Because like I said, even if all of them fall under fashion, it's important that you identify the ones that truly reflect your brand and speak to the audience that you're trying to reach. Are we clear? Because I need you guys to comment in the question box, so I know that I'm not speaking to myself before I continue. Okay, yes, so I would proceed. Now that you have a clear picture of the type of influencer that you want to work with, right? Other things that you need to consider is the type of content. What kind of content do they create? Do you love the content that they create? Do you feel like it represents your brand? What other conversations does this influencer have? Is this a controversial influencer? And are you open to partnering with an influencer that is controversial, that is always in the news for the wrong reasons? These are things that you actually need to look out for, besides looking at audience alignment. You're looking at the content, you're looking at the conversations that they create, you're also looking at the engagement, right? Does this influencer have a good engagement? Is this an engagement that you're open to working with? You need to also understand that not all influencers have the same engagement. Some influencers are very good when it comes to creating content, right? And then the content that they create, you can repurpose the content for your marketing, but it might not reach tons of people. But what you can leverage on is the content that they create. While some influencers, they have the influence, right? When they wear an outfit, it literally sells out in minutes, right? But in terms of content, um their content creation is not bad per se, but it might not be as um sharp. I think that's the word that comes to my mind as when a UGC creator would create, or a regular smaller creator. So just have to look at all of these things and find out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Now that you, like I said, now that you have a clear picture of the ideal influencer that you want to work with, you're going to now deploy the strategy, right? So I'm going to, for the purpose of this call, I'm just going to, I broke it down into three different phases. I broke it down into the pre-launch strategy, I broke it down into the launch strategy, and then the post, and then the post strategy. So we're going to start with the pre-launch strategy. And this is something that I love telling brands or brand founders when I get the opportunity to speak to them, is leveraging on storytelling. So a few years back, maybe 2020, 2021 or thereabout, um, influencer marketing was just solely based on working with celebrity influencers. If you want to work with an influencer, it has to be a celebrity. You cannot just work with micro influencers, and nano influencers were not really the go-to for influencer marketing. Brands would only leverage on the very bigger numbers. But as we've seen how the market has evolved, a lot of brands are tilting towards the smaller creators because they feel like they have a much more niched audience, and in terms of pricing they are fairly priced. So another beautiful thing about this space that we're in now is that we have apps like TikTok, right, where you as the brand can leverage on that platform to tell your story. This is why I put in the pre-launch strategy, is that you start by telling your story. What inspired the brand? Where are your fabrics from? Again, before I continue, it's very important that you are very discreet in sharing certain things. I think that this is some sort of mistake that some brands make, right? In the need to tell stories, they end up oversharing. You don't obviously want to like spill too much details, or yeah, your trade secrets, but then just be very mindful of how you're telling your story. So you can just tell your stories. What inspired the collection? Why are you starting a business? Why are you starting and why are you starting a fashion brand? What what inspired? What are the things that where do you get your inspiration from? You can show us like how you sketch, just basic. The goal of this, and if you do it right, it would help you to attract the right customers before you launch. It would help you to build anticipation and curiosity, and it will position your brand with intention. It would also help you to attract the right influencers. When you leverage TikTok, for example, and you're telling your brand stories even before you launch, right? You have a mix of different people coming into your page wanting to know, what the pieces would be like. There's this brand that I saw on my TikTok page. It's a clothing brand in London. It's a lady. She was launching like an outfit, and it was just so beautiful seeing how she told the story. Even before they launched, they had like 40,000 people on their wait list. Now imagine you haven't even launched the product yet, you're just telling a story, and you have 40,000 people on your wait list. Now imagine what would happen when you now launch the product. You don't even need to even stress yourself. So this is a very important thing when you leverage storytelling the right way. Now, because you're telling your story, you're building anticipation. This would also help you to attract the right influencers, people who are genuinely who want to be a part of your brand. And it can work two ways. These people can reach out to you and they want to partner with you. They want to create content for you whenever you launch the whatever it is that you're launching. Now, how do you involve them? This is very important. You can, I always like to say, always have all the conversations via email, please. It's very important. I would not suggest that you have conversation with influencers via DM. So even if they reach out to you via DM, please redirect them to reach out to you via email. It's very important for documentation, because there are incidents where influencers would say something on the DM and then you send the product and then they don't do anything, and then you try to go back and get proof they haven't sent it. So it's just very important that you have all conversations by email. So you can email them, or if they reach out to you, you have them email you, and you can decide to work with them in by different ways. You can decide to work with them by product seeding. So product seeding is basically you sending your products to an influencer, right? You give them your products, and that, I'm just going to be very honest with you, because this also causes a lot of well, I'm trying to figure out the right word to say. It causes a lot of confusion, right? Now the real truth about product seeding is that when you product seed to an influencer, they are not in any way mandated to post your product unless it is written down. And then when I say written down, it's not, oh, would you do a video for us? There is a legal document saying that, oh, we're going to send your product in exchange for this. We want an unboxing video, or we want a try on video. So it's very important that I put that out so that there is no confusion whatsoever. So you can decide to product seed, or you can decide to have it documented that in exchange for products you want content, or you can also decide to involve them via UGC. And UGC basically means user generated content. You send your product to an influencer who is also a creator, or who can also be a creator, and then in exchange they create user generated content. So this can also be paid offer, or this can be peer out, whereas you send the products and then in exchange they create content. But like I said, ensure that this is documented, or you just go the easiest route by offering a paid partnership. So you are very detailed on the type of content that they are going to create, the deliverables. That's what we call deliverables in influencer marketing. The deliverables is a video, is it a styling video, is it an unboxing video. Is very important that all of these things are in the document, in the contract. Get a lawyer, have it drafted, have them review, sign, and they sign before you send any product to anybody, and before you pay them. So whatever content you decide to do, just make sure that it is written and it is documented. Now that we have an idea of how to go about the pre-launch, we're now going to move to the launch strategy. And in the launch strategy, I broke it into two different parts. Now, at this point, you're already building your community on TikTok. I'm saying TikTok now because TikTok is a very interesting platform. You can literally open your camera and make a video, and boom, your community would literally just grow organically, like without even having to do um much. TikTok rewards storytelling. So that's why I'm speaking about TikTok. You can leverage Instagram, but for this, where I'm using TikTok for this example. Like I said, at this point, you have you're telling your story, you are growing your community, and you have partnered with the right influencers. Now you can decide to go with one influencer. You can decide to go to with multiple influencers. So you can decide to do both product seeding. You just send products depending on how much stock you have and what your budget is. Oh, very, very important. It's important that you have an idea of how much you're willing to spend in influencer marketing. I think another mistake that a lot of brands make is they do not treat influencer marketing as marketing. So they do not assign any budget to it. They just hope that, oh, I'm just going to give my products out, and I'm just going to pray and hope that an influencer makes a video. So it's important that you have some sort of budget. When you have your budget, you can now decide, okay, we're going to deploy, for example, based on how much we have, we can be able to deploy 10 influencers. Out of these 10 influencers, we're going to product seed to four influencers. Four influencers already reached out to us and they said they want to work with us. So we can leverage that and tell them that in exchange for a dress, we want a video, have that documented. So out of these 10 influencers, four of them we're going to product seed. Out of the remaining, when you product it to four, you have six. Out of the six, we're going to look for the best influencers in, or the best UDC creators, and have, let's say we have two or three of them create UDC content for us that we can use in our on our socials, on our Instagram. We can use to run ads, and then in out of this, when we've done four product seed, we've done two for UGC, and the remaining ones we can decide to pay them. Now, how are we going to do payment? We can do payment depending on what the budget. This is why it's important that you draft your budget. Depending on what the budget is, we can decide to pay them upfront, or we can decide to pay a certain percent, and then we'll do half upfront payment, and then the other half would be based on commission, right? We would create some sort of discount link, and then would create an affiliate program where the influencer also earns money whenever anybody shops. You see this with brands like Amazon, and there's TLK, where if you shop a clothes from an influencer's affiliate link, they get compensated for that. So you can create that too for your business as well. So just find out what works for you. So still on the launch strategy, you have told your story, you have grown your community, or you're currently growing your community, and you've partnered with influencers either via product seeding, UGC, or paid partnership. Now it is time to convert all their attention into sales. What you can do is now you can repurpose all the influencer generated content across your platforms. To be very specific, what platforms am I speaking about? I'm talking about your websites. I'm assuming now that you have launched your products and you have a website. Very, very, very important. I don't know. I know that sometimes people say things like, oh, Nigerians don't like to shop by DM. The truth is, like, when we spoke about the pre-launch, I said something with regards to knowing the kind of brand that you want to build, and knowing the kind of conversations that you want to drive about your brand. So maybe at first you can start with DMs, maybe when you're working on your website. But I strongly recommend that you have a website. You have a website. Very, very important that you have a website. It also help if you're looking at partnering with influencers. It's even easier for you to track to see, oh, is this working? Is this influencer working? What do we need to do differently? Is our marketing working? Not even if it's not, you're not deploying influencers, you're doing paid ads. Is it converting? I can see, oh, how many website visitors did we have? For example, if you're using a website platform like Shopify, it shows you where your customers are from, right? It's very important. So please, if you don't have a website, get one, or if you're planning on launching, get one. Like I said, Shopify will show you where your website traffic is coming from, which of your marketing is working. Now, what this does for you is, if you want to continually work with influencers, it would also help you to identify which market. Remember that one of the reasons that we gave initially about the KPIs is expanding into a new market. You do not expand into a new market, for example, blindly. You work with the data. Another very important thing that a lot of businesses miss, fashion, any type of business, right, is working deploying influencer marketing blindly. Influencer marketing is data dependent. If you have a website that tracks every single thing, where your audience are coming from, where your second top market is, you can use this data to say, okay, based on our website back end, it's showing that we're receiving traffic from SA. Now, how can we leverage on this traffic that we're getting from SA market? We can start by testing waters. I like to test waters if I want to start working with influencers. I don't know if I mentioned that I had a business. I have a hair company, right? So one of the things that we do when we look at our back end and we're getting traffic from a new market, we test the market. And how do you test markets? You deploy creators, influencers. You go heavy on product seeding, right? You product seed to influencers. And one of the things that we do is we work with influencers that are already in our community, the people that already love the brand, the people that already know the brand. It's easier to work with those people because they already want to be a part of the brand. They already love the brand. And we leverage on these people, and then we send products to them. We do product seeding. We do not ask for anything in exchange. You don't have to do that, but we don't ask for anything in exchange. But on a scale of 100%, when we product it to, let's say, 50 influencers, 80% of them end up, posting about the product. So when you look at your back end and you're seeing where all these things are coming from, it will just help you to create a more strategic influencer marketing campaign. So I just wanted to point that out. Please have a website. So back to the launch strategy. Repurpose all the influencer generated content across your platforms, your website, your mailing list, your Instagram, Threads, Twitter, if you use Twitter, whatever social media platform that you use for your business. You can run Google ads as well. Then you can run ads using that content to drive traffic to your website. Another thing before I continue, and the thing is, sometimes when influencers create content, they only create content for you to use on your social page, or they only create content for their own social page. So it's very important that you have the conversation with the influencers that, oh, hi, we want to use your content for ads. Please let us know if there's anything that you want us to know. So some influencers, they honestly don't mind. You can use their content and run ads. Some influencers will grant to use it right for 3 months, and after 3 months you're going to pay if you want to use it again. Some influencers will want to take a payment, one time payment, and then they like, oh, you use the content. So just depending on the influencer, to be honest. And once you obtain that usage right, you can then run your ads. Then if you on the pre-launch strategy, right, if you deployed influencers and you send your product to them, you can have them start posting the content prior to your launch day or on the actual launch day. The goal for this is to, when you have multiple people talking about your business, it would drive attention, urgency, and it would help you to build trust. Another very cost effective, I emphasis on cost effective. I don't know if I mentioned that influencer marketing is pretty expensive. I don't know how else to say it. The market has it has gone up and it'll keep going up. So it's very important that you know how to leverage the budget that you have. Doesn't mean that, oh, if you don't have a big budget, you cannot work with influencers. No, it's very important that you just know how to leverage the budget that you have. And that's why we have different tier of influencers. We have the bigger ones, the mega influencers, we have the macro influencers, we have the micro, and we have the nano influencers. Your budget should be able to work on any of these influencers depending on how much money you're willing to spend. So another cost effective launch strategy, still on this launch strategy, is creating IRL experience. IRL experience basically means in real life experience, and that is bringing your influencers and community together to experience your brand in person. When this is done right, it can spark the kind of conversation and buzz your fashion brand really needs. I'm sure you've seen brands like Rode, brands like Rare Beauty. Um, sorry guys, it's fashion brands. I'm sorry, it's beauty brands that come to my mind, but I'm sure there are fashion brands that are doing this. You may know of this brand. Now, let's talk about in real life experience. It has been in the game for a long time, but now a lot of brands are leaning into creating this kind of experience. So it's not just about creating just any pop-up. We see that a lot in the Nigerian market. It's not just creating just a pop-up. You say, come and buy stuff. You create an experience, right? You make it when your influencers, the influencers that you invite, or the customers that you invite, when they come into the space, you don't even need to tell them that, oh guys, hi guys, please share on social media. No. When you walk into, there are so many times that you walk into a place that nobody tells you to film. You just take out your phone and film, because you see that the people have put in effort into ensuring that the space is it's almost impossible for you not to share on social media. That's why we said create in real life experience, right? Create an experience. Don't make it just a pop-up. Think about how can we make this Instagrammable? How can we drive the right conversation when people walk into the space, right? How can we spark the right conversation about the brand? Now, when you do this very well, when you do this well, you have people coming to your space. You have multiple, we're looking at numbers now. We have multiple people multiple people, sorry, sharing your brand, tagging your brand. And now, another important strategy still in this RIL experience is keep it exclusive. Um, Formal works, when you leverage formal well, that's fear of missing out. I don't know, it just does this thing where people are like, okay, what do I need to do to be a part of the next experience? This is why you need to make the first experience to be amazing. What do I need to do? Do I need to buy more? Do I need to shop more from this brand? Do I need to engage more? So it's very important. And then create a great shopping experience. This is also the time where, remember that in your pre-launch strategy, you were sharing stories about, why you're starting the business. This also the time where you can be very intentional and share your journey as the founder, why you started the business, and just share your story. It's something that storytelling does. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just something amazing um, about storytelling, especially when it's coming from the founder, especially when it's a business that you as the founder, you're passionate about. People have seen the effort that you're putting into the business, and then you're sharing your story. It just builds brand affinity, and it just make people want to, it's like the human touch of the business, make people want to just support the brand beyond, oh, this is a beautiful piece. It's like an emotional support. Oh, I'm touched by this founder's story. I really love what this person is building, and I want to be a part of this thing. So under this, in IRL experience, that is in real life experience, create an experience, make it not just a pop-up. Think about how should people feel when they walk into this space. Make it extra Instagrammable, encourage meaningful conversation, leverage formal, keep it exclusive, limited invite or access makes people value the experience more and talk about it. I'm not even going to lie, guys. I don't know why that thing works, but it just works. And then deliver a great shopping experience. Invest in your pop-up bags, just make it everything, just put attention, everything, brand every single thing. Even if you don't need popcorns, add popcorns, do everything. Like, just whatever it is that you're doing, just ensure that every single thing is branded. Guys, I'm not even kidding. If you do this thing well, you don't even need to, like I said before, you don't even tell anybody talk about your business. They will be the one talking about the business. And then when they create this content, right, you have your, obviously you have your team, your videographers, they're creating their own content, and then you create that, and then you run ads on that. The influencer, so imagine now you do an exclusive in shopping experience, and you have 20 people, and out of that 20 people you have like 10 influencers, and you have different um people in your community. Now let's just even do the math. Imagine if you were supposed to pay 20 influencers, and the least influencer was charging 500,000. Now times how much 500,000 times 20 people would cost you. Now imagine if you now take half of that money, right? Or you might not even spend half of that money, and then you invest in creating an amazing experience, right? Do you know how much money you end up saving, and then how much user generated content that you get from 20 people without having to spend that much? So it's something that you also need to look at for, and that is for the launch strategy. So now that we have spoken about the pre-launch, we've spoken about the launch. Before we go to post-launch, I need to know that you guys are following me. You can do the emoji thingy, or type in the question tag. So I I know. Okay, there is a question. I think I should be able. Okay. Okay. There are lots of
Yes, we
questions
have
here.
questions for you.
Okay, I think I should
Yes.
answer the questions after the session. I'm almost done. So guys, so I'll answer the
All right.
questions, guys. All right. So now we have done the pre-launch. We have done the launch, and then what is the post-launch? At this stage, you have taken your audience on a journey. We have seen how. Let me give a name. We have seen how, let me see if I can get a name. We have seen how Joshua started the business, how he went to maybe Senegal to get fabrics. We've seen everything. Oh my God, Joshua has taken us on an experience. We have seen the shopping experience that Joshua has created for his business. Now, at this stage, you have taken your audience on a journey, you have partnered with the right influencers, you have created a solid shopping experience. Now is the time to double down. Now, this is another mistake a lot of brands make. They get too comfortable when people are talking about their brand, when the sales are coming in. It's not the time for you to rest and say, oh, we've finally landed, we've launched, we've made X amount of money on sales. Can you see this influencer is wearing our piece? Oh, this influencer in the UK bought her clothes, she's wearing the video. It's not the time for you to rest. So this is the time for you to double down, go back and see what worked, what did not work, which influencer that we posted, which influencer did not post, which influencer generated content, brought the most sales. Should we work with should we continue working with smaller creators, or should we look for one big influencer to sign? You have to ensure that you are constantly looking for how to continue to double down, right? You can decide to, okay, now we have to work with more creators. We need to work with more smaller creators to drive relatable content. We can create content, in-house content, day in the life of our fabric cutter, or day in the life of our founder. If you don't want to be the founder that wants to show themselves, you can create your employee content. You've seen a lot of content on this TikTok where the employees are creating content. You can create those kind of content. They are relatable content. You can hire a smaller creator to come into your fashion space and just create BTS, depending on whatever you believe works. Then you can also now leverage heavy on UGC. You can use that to build trust and social proof. Videos like DIY videos, or how to pair this outfit, or come with me to an event, and then you can show different ways on how your pieces are being styled. You can just think, with your team. And again, like I said, find out what works. At the end of the day, it's your brand. It's very important that you find out what works for your brand, and what works for your fashion brand might not necessarily be what works for another fashion brand. So another mistake that a lot of brands make is they are looking at everybody but themselves. They are looking at other businesses but themselves. Look inwards, find out what works. You can, take inspiration from other brands, but then ensure that whatever it is that you're doing what works for your business. Because at the end of the day, it's your business. Then diversify your influencer mix by partnering with lifestyle influencers. Another beautiful thing about influencer marketing is that you don't necessarily need to just work with influencers in your niche. You can work with influencers outside of your niche, but they have a similar community. So find out other influencers that you can work with who share your similar audience that you're trying to reach out to. And then you can also think about future drops. You can look at maybe when the brand gets grows big, you can think about launching a limited collection with an influencer, maybe an influencer that grew with you guys, an influencer that there's some influencers that really really love the brand, and you can partner with any of those influencers, and then like I said, review what worked, and then just focus on your energy on driving the right results. And that is what I have to share with you guys. And let me know if you have any questions. I will go ahead and look at the questions that I have in the question box, and if you have any other questions, you let me know. Thank you. What should brands be measuring beyond likes and reach? If influencer marketing is truly contributing to growth? Yeah, remember when I said about when I spoke about your KPIs, right? What are the things that you're looking forward to working with influencers? I'm going to give you an example. Beyond likes and beyond reach, is there an increase in your sales? Is there an increase in your numbers? Can it be credited to an influencer? There's sometimes that you see a spike in your website traffic, and you see a spike, and that also converts to sales. And most times it can be from traffic coming from an influencer posted about your business. So you can look at that too as well. The sales, did your numbers go up, right? Did your numbers go up? So that's another thing that you can look out for. This is my response to Sukomi. Sorry if I did not get that your name correctly. Sukomi. Very nice picture. Yeah, Look at your numbers. Is there a significant increase in your sales? You can look at that too as well. Is there a significant increase in your website traffics, right? So sometimes influencers drive traffic to your website. Now, is now you as the brand to ensure that the traffic is converting. So you can look at your website. Is everything okay on the website? Do you understand? So look at that too as well. With so many brands working with influencers now, how can a fashion brand stand out and avoid looking repetitive? I love this question. I think it goes back to you as the brand. What do you want people to think about when they see your business? Let me give you an example, right? I own a hair company. Besides working in influencer marketing, I've always owned a hair company for the longest time. And I sell hair, right? And trust me, there are lots of brands, selling hair too as well. And I've been working with influencers for the longest time. Now, if you go to my business feed or our website, you realize that yes, we're selling hair, but we're different. If I do say so myself, we are somewhat different, right? And I think one of the things that we did differently is I told my team we are going to do what works for us. We go back to our drawing table. Okay, what conversation do we want people to have when they come to our brand, right? Obviously, not everybody is going to wear an afro wig, not everybody's going to wear a ponytail, right? But the people that wear these pieces, how do we want them to feel, right? When you determine this, it would also help in the kind of content that you're creating, the kind of the storytelling, the stories that you're telling through you as the brand and through your influencers, right? So it does, trust me, there's a billion and one brands working with influencers, right? But it does not, all of them are not necessarily the same. And you don't have to make your brand be the same like the other ones. Just find out your unique selling points and leverage on that. I think that answers your question. Let me know if that was clear. Find out your unique selling points and leverage on that, right? So, yep. What key metrics would you say brands should focus on when evaluating the success of influencer campaigns? I already shared that initially, but I'm just going to say that some of the metrics again. 1 second. Let me pull up my notes. And one of the metrics would be, yeah, affinity, visibility, and awareness, expanding into new markets, sales. Those are some of the metrics, right? Whenever it's a sort of influencer, yes, those are some of the metrics. So, for example, now when if you're looking at if one of the metrics that you picked for working with influencers is tapping into a new market, how to tell if the campaign was a success is if you go back to your website end and you see that you got traffic from a new market, the market that you are looking at expanding into. That is how you know that it was a successful campaign. If you said if the metric that you set before deploying influencers was awareness, right? You go back to your website back end and see, did we receive a significant increase in our website traffic? Are there new people on the website? This is why I said that data is very important, because you cannot track these things if you do not have a back end that is trackable. So the first one is, if you say that your KPI or the reason why you decided to deploy an influencer was for awareness, you look at your back ends where there an increase in website traffic. If you say that it was you're trying to tap into a new market, is there traffic from new markets too as well? If your key metric is website sales, did you make sales? If yes, how many sales can be linked to the influencer? Were there any sales links through this influencer's coupon code or through this influencer's link? So those are ways that you can use to, if you're saying that, oh, we want to increase our followers too as well, was there an increase in our followers? We had 2,000 influencers before we deployed an influencer. Do we have 3,000 now, or do we have 2,100? Was there an increase? You can check your back end on your Instagram to see. So those are ways you can evaluate your campaign to see if it was success or not. Guys, let me know if you have any more questions. And I hope I was able to answer your question, Dasola Patrick. And yeah.
Yes, most definitely, Elena. Thank you so much. That was very, very insightful. Thank you. Please also appreciate Elena by using the react button. Thank you, Elena. Thank you. So we're going to be going on another 10-minute break. And whilst we're on the break, let's look at the screen. We're going to be playing a game of four picks, one word. So just guess the brands in the Q&A chat box. And when we get back, we'll discuss that. Thank you to our speakers so far. Thank you, Jason Dayton. Thank you, Elena. The last session is just going to be as good as the first two sessions. So see you in a bit.